If you haven't been living under a rock, everybody's talking about Luigi Mangione, what he did, how he did it, but what nobody's talking about is what's next. Now, America has had a lot of assassinations in its history. It's happened to celebrities, civil rights leaders, and obviously the most famous assassinations have been of presidents and politicians. But where does a healthcare CEO fit into all of this? Well, what we do know is that the difference between a murder and assassination is typically that an assassination means that there's a greater symbolic cause. And typically, the public is a lot more sympathetic to that cause after the assassination has been followed through and been completed. For example, when Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated in 1968, it's because he was the symbol of the civil rights movement. And after this, over a third of Americans that were surveyed said that they were more sympathetic towards that cause. And over half said that they were against violence and as a result of this, more patriotic. But that's not what we're seeing for Thompson. And what's fascinating about this is that even though we're at a time which is probably the most politically divided that we've ever been in history, regardless of political affiliation, this study found that the majority of Americans are against the excessive profiting of CEOs, which Thompson represents. And even more interesting, while this is all happening, despite the coverage, the labor movement has been growing very, very heavily in the last few years. Union power has grown so strong in the last few years that both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, regardless of the fact that they were two very different political parties, were both going after the labor movement for their endorsements, including the auto workers and the Teamsters, who are thought to be the most powerful voices in this movement right now. So what does this all mean? Well, throughout history, assassinations have happened at the beginning, middle, and end of movements. The connection of the labor movement growing significantly at the same time that public sympathy has officially ceased to exist because of the CEO assassination is not something that's random. So what can we expect to see with the labor movement growing and what's to come next in the revolution? Like and share for part 2.